Hi, my name is Themblin, and I'm a boy gamer, and today we're talking about Disney's Aladdin. So, you may have seen my long play of this game, and I wanted to separate out my thoughts on the game and the gameplay itself. Though I will be putting up the gameplay here while I'm talking. So, why do I like this game? First, we have to talk about the history of the movie itself. So, back in the 80s and 90s, most Disney animated movies were, about princesses. They starred princesses and female protagonists like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Little Mermaid, stuff like that. But I didn't really know it consciously at the time, but I really liked Aladdin because it starred a male, so that was different. And since I'm a male, I could relate to him more than Ariel, Little Mermaid. Not to say I didn't like those movies, I really liked Little Mermaid. It was the first movie I remember seeing. I think my parents did take me to movies before that, but I don't actually remember going to the theater and watching it. So The Little Mermaid was the first movie I actually remember watching at a movie theater. So, and Aladdin the movie has really great music. It won, Academy Awards and stuff. I think the movie that came after this was Pocahontas, and I didn't really like them. I was over Disney movies by then. No, okay. Lion King. Lion King was good. And then it was Pocahontas. By that time, the movie didn't have great music. And I don't know, I just didn't like the vibe of the movie. Because they tried to twist. I won't get into that. Anyway, so I was in 6th grade when I got this game. And how did I get it? Of course, I asked my parents, specifically my father, and he worked really late, but I knew which day he would bring home the game. And then that day came. He came home at 10 o'clock from Monday to Saturday. And then I knew that night he was gonna bring home the game, so I was so excited. But when he brought it, it was the Super Nintendo version by Capcom. I guess it was partly my fault because I didn't specify which version I wanted, but I was so disappointed. I actually cried alone in my room, so I actually remember that. That's how upset I was. I think the next day or so, I actually finally got this game. But at the same time, it came home at 10 o'clock at night, and I wasn't allowed to play video games on weekdays. So I had to wait until the weekend. So let's go back into how I found out about this game. Of course, we had to use magazines back then. And the magazine I watched mostly was... The magazine I read was GamePro. A lot of older gamers who are actually older than I am, like GameSack, they don't respect GamePro. They said it was for kids or whatever. But I liked GamePro. GamePro was good. And yeah, the screenshots and the information I read about it was very flattering. They said it was animated by Disney animators themselves. And it looked good too. I mean, you couldn't see it in motion back then, of course, because you could only see screenshots. But what was there was great. And when I actually finally played it for the first time, I was not disappointed. As far as a 16-bit machine like the Sega Genesis, it looked as close to the movie as I think it possibly could. and it animated really well too. So there are two things: the image quality, the sprites themselves, the backgrounds, and the animation. Both were good. So you can have one without the other, but this game had both. So the sprites looked very cartoon-like, and the animation was very smooth. You know, back in the NES days, most animations consisted of maybe 2 frames. So if you were walking, one frame was the left arm out, right arm back, and then the next frame was right arm out, left arm back. But the animation in this game was very smooth. So it was a big jump. I guess it was a gradual jump, but if you think about one of the earliest games, the Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, that game looked amazing at the time. But that was an early game. So then you jump to this game, and it's an even bigger jump. So really got people thinking, what is the limit of 16-bit machines? Then I saw a video the other day where Rare said that before they worked on Donkey Kong Country, Nintendo was pressuring them to make a game with great graphics just like this game, because just like Aladdin. As I mentioned before, I really like the music in the movie, so I think we owned a CD of the soundtrack. I think it belonged to my sister, and we couldn't record. I think I had a cassette player in my room, so I could only listen to cassettes in my room. So for my birthday, my sister actually made a cassette of the CD. How she did this was she played the CD off a stereo system and then recorded that sound into a cassette recorder. So it's kind of ghetto MacGyver-ish, but it worked. I mean, the sound quality wasn't perfect, but I loved it. I loved all the music in this movie. I loved how, you know, Robin Williams, his voice acting. I loved that. I loved A Whole New World by the actors, and then also by the 2 professional singers. So there are 2 versions of A Whole New World. Both were good. And then to see those songs translated into video games was very satisfying. I mean, the quality, you know, wasn't great, but the melodies were there. It was just the instrumentation and the quality that wasn't the greatest. But I didn't think that at the time. I loved it at the time. And yeah, all in all, the game blew my mind. I eventually beat it one day. And then I never played it again because my father owned a video rental store, and I just gave the game back to him so that he could rent it out. So that's just, I'll talk about my childhood in another video, but I really liked the time I had with this game. I still play it occasionally, every few years. This is not the original box and cartridge of the game. This is from eBay. This is not even original box for Aladdin. This is an EA box. You could tell because the cartridge is squarish. The slot, see how it doesn't fit perfectly, so I have to do one of these deals. But it came with the manual, cartridge, and the cover art, so I wasn't unhappy about that. Playing this again for my video made me see more of the flaws of this game. Sometimes, you know, your jumps won't register, and oh yeah, the The carpet ride, the level right before the carpet ride, is one of the most frustrating levels in all of video games, because you die once and you go all the way back to the beginning. So I don't like that. But eventually you do memorize it. I don't know how I dealt with it back then as a child. I think as an adult I have more patience and think about things more, try to consciously memorize things. Back then everything comes naturally, so memorization came more naturally. You don't think about, I have to memorize this, you know. And that's how I got through the game. Yeah, I think the game is overall very good. You have melee combat with your sword. I liked being able to swing a sword in a game. I didn't really play many games like that. And you had a ranged attack option with your apples, so ranged and melee combat was very good. All the little animations where, you know, if you jump on a camel and he hawks a loogie at an enemy and the enemy's pants drops down, all those animations were very cartoon-like, so I appreciated that. I still think this is one of the best Genesis games. Some people might not agree, but I think the graphics and animation are superb. The music is good, the quality is not great, and the gameplay, but it's not buggy. It's not, you know, the funnest thing in the world, but I would say it's above average. I think the whole package is greatly above average. So, Sega Genesis, Aladdin, not a bad game. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.